Good afternoon, everyone. It is currently 6:35 Eastern Standard Time here, and this is another update on what will eventually be, if you believe the predictions, Hurricane Elsa. Now, at the moment, right now, Elsa is still a tropical storm, but because of the potential for it to potentially be a hurricane as it makes landfall in the Big Bend area, we have upgraded our color-coded sort of storm severity index to an orange, as you can see above me. Now, I don't want to waste anyone's time, so we're going to jump right into this. Currently, at the moment, Elsa is a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm sitting a little to the southwest of Tampa. In fact, if I pull up the radar here really quickly, you can see this is Elsa sitting right here. This big complex of rain, and you can see that it's developed an eye. In fact, if I go back in the radar imagery, you can see this eye develop and emerge over the last few hours, which is an indication that Elsa is strengthening, hence why they think it will be a hurricane, albeit Category 1, probably at a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane. It's a 5-mile-per-hour wind difference. Don't get too caught up in that. But it is interesting to see that eye really start to form here in the last little bit. And you see all these reds right around the eye. That is the eye wall. And that is where the strongest winds are going to be located. So as this tracks northward, you can see it slowly moving north. It looks like it will just barely brush the St. Petersburg area, maybe more of a Clearwater impact. Indian Rocks Beach, Treasure Island, Tierra Verde, areas like that are probably going to get pretty significant winds. Actually, anywhere where these bands, you can see them coming on shore, we're going to be getting fairly significant winds. In fact, if I jump over to the velocities, sitting right offshore, we're looking at, 70, 80 knots off the ground, obviously. But you translate that down a little bit, probably looking at close to 60, 70 mile per hour sustained winds gusting higher. Now you'll notice these areas over here are shaded in yellow. I believe those are tropical storm watches. This orange, tropical storm warning. We come up the coast. Some counties aren't shaded. The warnings aren't loading properly. But if you can imagine, this red kind of comes all the way down through here. More tropical storm watches. Actually, I believe some of this is a hurricane warning now, sitting out here in the Big Bend area. Those areas are under a hurricane warning rather than a tropical storm watch. However, Jacksonville, Duval County, sort of west of the St. Johns River, and most of Clay County, unless you live right along the St. Johns River, is under a tropical storm watch that should get upgraded to a tropical storm warning as we go through the night. As a matter of fact, if I jump over to the Jacksonville radar, this might take a second to load here. You can see we're already starting to get some of these outer bands from Elsa. If this gives a second to load. This radar tends to be a little slow jumping to the Jacksonville radar, but if we switch over to the rain view, you see these outer bands that sort of swept through the area earlier today. A few hours ago, they kind of swept through southern Clay County, Bradford County, and Gainesville, Stark. Those areas now moving north of Lake City, north of Highway 10, and moving off to the northwest. Now, they should probably lose some of the influence in the tropical storm as they move off to the northwest. However, as you can see, we're going to be getting more bands down from the south that end up sweeping north as the tropical system moves farther to the north. So, at this point, I know the cone isn't terribly important at this point because we're going to be seeing impacts. But as you can see, expected to be a hurricane before landfall, weakening to a tropical storm at about Jacksonville's latitude on 2 p.m. Wednesday. Luckily, by Wednesday night, early morning Thursday, it's out of here. If you look at the radar, the back side of this storm is a lot drier than the northern half, as you can see. A lot of dry air on the western and southern side of this system. So it's a very lopsided, comma-shaped system, almost an inverted comma, really, where all the rain is on the east and north side. But that's a bad thing for northeast Florida, meaning we're going to get more of the banding, more of the rain. However, once it does move through, we should be in the clear for that aspect. As you can see right now, there isn't actually any tornado warnings at the moment, although there's possibly, and I take that back. I know I said this yellow here is a tropical storm watch. It's actually not. It's actually a tornado watch. I completely forgot. The SPC issued a tornado watch for sort of Orlando southward with this tropical system, because anytime you have a landfalling tropical system, if you're on that eastern northern side, the potential for tornadoes in these is elevated. Now, if we jump back over here, what's something else I can show you guys? There's not a whole lot really to show that I haven't discussed before. Rainfall, 2 to 4 inches here, not too bad. Luckily, the speed of this storm and its lopsidedness will keep us from getting too much rain. Although farther west, west of 75 and a little north of I-10, could probably see upwards of 4 to 6 inches. Farther to the south near Tampa, where the storm's kind of training over right now, or it's sitting there for longer, closer to 10 inches of rain, maybe some 8 inches in there. Hopefully most of that, though, stays off the shore. Now, another thing I want to point out is this is the recent satellite imagery. If you remember in the past, I talked about how the system was sort of moving so fast that the bottom half was running away from the top half. And if you look here, not for the exact same reason, but that was happening again earlier in the day, where you see the southern spin come out from under this mass of clouds. And usually that's bad for tropical systems. So it's really a miracle that Elsa was holding on to its strength the way it was. However, if you notice in the last few hours, this thunderstorm complex has reformed over the center. Again, on radar, it looks like an eye is forming, so it would not surprise me if one tried to form in satellite imagery as well, although due to the nature of how this storm is kind of sheared a little bit, could be kind of hard for it to actually form an upper level eye, but we'll see about that. Now, if we jump over to the microwave imagery, you'll see Elsa move north, try to form this eye wall initially earlier today, and then it really wraps up around that eye. You can see right in the last few hours. This thing sitting in very, very warm water and just really starting to wrap up around that eye. And if you look at the Vmax, that is the estimated maximum winds, you can see those start climbing as that happens. We're up to about 60 knots, just at about 70 miles per hour. I believe a knot is like 1.4 miles per hour, somewhere around there, so you can do the multiplication. It's rather close. Now, the other thing I wanted to show is the Storm Prediction Center outlook for tomorrow, right, or even today, even. As you'll see, southern parts of Florida are in a slight, and if you look down here, you'll see the outlook. A marginal is a 1, sort of a 1 out of 5, and there's 5, much how my color-coded system is. They also have a color-coded system, so this yellow is their 2 out of 10 because of the fact that there is a 5% chance of a tornado with this landfalling system. Mostly here for areas south of Jacksonville, not quite to Jacksonville, not quite to say Orange Park, but areas like Palatka, Gainesville, Stark, areas like that have the potential for even, areas, St. Augustine even. You get those bands coming onto the coast from the east side. It has the potential for a tornado overnight. Now, wind, 5%. Our main wind threat is going to be actually from the tropical system itself, not really the storms. But if we move over to the day 2 outlook, which is tomorrow, you'll see that that tornado outlook is again a 2% for areas like Jacksonville, almost up to Tallahassee. So anywhere going west on I-10 from Jacksonville, I-75 down just north of Tampa, north of Orlando up 95 through Savannah, Charleston, Columbia, South Carolina, areas like that. I would not be surprised if closer to the coast out here, we see a 5% added tomorrow, just because they probably have this 2% here just because they're not entirely sure where it's going to landfall yet. But in my opinion, there will probably be a 5% out somewhere here. And don't let that really make you think that there's not going to be really a chance here, because there is. Anytime you get these bands, spiraling in, you can see it on radar. Anytime these bands spiral in from the coast, you see them spiraling in, there's spin in there. And so there's going to be a chance for tornadoes, especially out ahead. You're getting winds. If I can pull up the wind view here. If we look aloft in the atmosphere, you can see the change in direction of wind with height. starts more southeasterly, right? You see these barbs point in the direction that the wind is coming from. We start southeasterly, almost even easterly. It's pretty east-southeasterly almost. And as we go up in height, those winds start coming more southerly, and that is what causes our tornado threat. Once you get that spin in the air because of the different direction of winds, that allows for any storms to come on land to start spinning even over the water. That's why I was saying about St. Augustine. You can have bands spiraling in and creating water spouts off the coast because there's less friction over the water, which makes it easier for those to form. Hence why water spouts tend to be a little bit weaker than tornadoes on land. For the most part, that's not always true, but for the most part, they tend to be a little bit weaker. And what happens is you'll get a water spout that spins up over here, comes onto the coast, right, and then right along the coastal areas could be impacted by it. Now, I want to go over what to expect here. Now, wind-wise, we're not going to be that bad here. We're inland. The system's coming in from the west. Most of the winds are going to be contained farther to the west of Jacksonville. I think areas like Gainesville probably have a higher probability of seeing winds in Jacksonville. Stark even. You go north, Lake City. Those areas sort of between west of Highway 301, going west to about, even all the way to the coast, really, past Gainesville, up to Lake City, has the chance to see the highest winds from this system. Now you go west of there towards Tallahassee, now you're getting into the western side of the system where it's drier, not going to have a lot of wind there. Now in terms of rain, again, anywhere from 1 to 4 inches, could vary very locally, depends on if we get bands sort of training over each other coming on shore. However, I want you to keep in mind that even with those winds being lower here, we've had so much rain over the last few weeks that even lesser wind can still knock over trees and take out power, which is why tonight it's probably a good idea to start charging any portable charger devices, just in case. Make sure you have a way to still watch the weather. Action News Jax has a weather app where they live stream. You can watch it there. It does use data, but it's better than, being in the blind when it comes to what's coming. This page will keep posting, right? I'll post all the way throughout. I'll probably do a live update from the storm somewhere out, wherever I can get out tomorrow. Flooding shouldn't be terrible, at least where I am, so I should be able to get out. Just make sure you have a way to stay in touch with the information. Again, the biggest threat for me tomorrow is the chance for an isolated spin-up tornado that can spin up very quickly without warning. They probably won't be very strong tornadoes. Those that do come with tropical systems tend to be weaker, but they can be strong. Just last year, we had an EF3 go through Virginia with a landfalling system and do significant damage. So you just got to be prepared. That's why I say you need to charge your devices and make sure you have a way to get the information, because you need to be able to know when to take shelter if that does occur. Again, overall, I don't think our impacts are going to be that bad. The tornado threat is what has me the most worried, although it's not significantly high. It does exist. Flooding is a concern. Some storm surge along the coast, along the St. Johns River down through Black Creek. Definitely possible. Won't be as much as when Irma came through. This is a much more disorganized system, a smaller system, so it's got less of a wind field with it, a weaker wind field as well, and so it's not going to pull and push as much water places. However, surge along the coast 1 to 4 feet maybe. 4 might be pushing it a little high. The west coast is probably going to see the worst of the surge. Areas like Riverside could see some minor storm surge flooding. I know that tends to happen with the St. Johns River in that area. Black Creek, similar story. But other than that, our impacts aren't terrible. We've been through worse than this. We will see worse than this in the future. So just make sure you have a way to keep receiving information, a way to know when to be safe and get in shelter from a tornado. Watch out for flooding. Do not drive through flooded roads. That is the worst decision you can make. Only 6 inches of rain fast flowing down a road is enough to knock you off your feet. So I've seen time after time cars thinking that they can drive through flooded streets, and you can't. So just don't do it. Otherwise, tomorrow, good day to stay home, relax with a book, have the TV on in the background, maybe light a few candles. But other than that, guys, that's all I have for now. I'll probably post another text update tonight on my Facebook page, on Twitter, stuff of that nature. Tomorrow, I will be reporting live, hopefully, from the storm outside. If not live, I'll be recording a video to post as soon as I get back home. But it should be live. At least not for the YouTube crowd. For the Facebook crowd, it'll probably be live. But other than that, I don't have too much. Just get your final preparations in place tonight. Don't panic. And I'll see you guys all later.